If you've never changed your Zoom name before to add your district, I will be sharing that in a second. Okay, so you should be able to see that screen. Oops. Sorry, my participant list was covering it, so maybe it blocked it. What we're going to do is we're going to get started. It is 10 o'clock. We do have a lot of information today. My name is Stephanie Martinez. I'm one of the technical assistance specialists for the project. And I am also going to be working on a freshman success grant, which we'll talk a little bit about today. We're going to go through, we're going to introduce the rest of our FLPBIS team today. I'm going to go down the list Brady Bunch style. So just the person who I see underneath me, and I'm going to pass it to Robin.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Robin Vanover, and I am a technical assistance specialist with the project, and I support districts along the East Coast, starting with St. Lucie County, Martin County, all the way down to Palm Beach, and over to some of the central districts as well. So good morning.
Thank you. Lauren.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lauren Ivanovich. I'm one of the technical assistance specialists on the Florida PBIS project and support districts in and around the Tampa Bay area. I am also one of the co-leads with Stephanie on the new Freshman Success Project.
Thank you. Dama.
Good morning. I'm Dama Absher, and I support Volusia County, Marion County, Gilchrist, and Levy counties. So I'm glad you guys could all join us.
Thank you. Therese.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Therese. I'm a technical assistant specialist with Florida's PBIS project. I support Pinellas County and then a number of districts towards the Big Bend area of our state and a little of the central North Florida districts as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Nicole.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Nicole Fintel. I'm a technical specialist on the project. I support 3 counties across the state, Hendry, Orange, and Leon. I'm also the project's evaluator.
Thank you. Kat.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Kat Rollerson. I'm up in the northeast corner of the state with some districts up here in the corner, and I'm a technical assistant specialist, and we'll be beginning a new adventure as the project coordinator with this fantastic crew. So that is exciting. And then I also have the pleasure working with Nicole on the Florida WARE grant that partners with 3 districts in the Panhandle. So I'm glad you're all here. Good morning.
Thank you. Jason.
Good morning, Jason Lobley. I'm a TA specialist, and I work with districts in the Central Florida area.
Thank you. Betsy.
Good morning, everybody. I am also a TA provider for the project, and I work with districts in the Central Florida area and also some up towards the Panhandle.
Great, thank you. I think we have all of our project staff covered that are here today. So thank you for introducing yourself. So we'll get straight to the PowerPoint. I know that Lauren has put in the chat box the links for the materials for today. So if you want to access these later, that you can. So we'll get started. This is one of our district coordinator meetings for this year. Thank you for everybody for registration. I know we did not do that in the past. That was new this year. Zoom bombing has come back. So as a result of it and to protect ourselves, we did that. So I appreciate it. It will be the same link. You will not need to register again. And then before each one of those, we will send out a reminder of the date and time and the link again so that you have it. So today, this is our agenda. We're going to have some national updates, and then we'll do some state updates. So I'm going to go through the national updates, and then when we get to the state updates, it will rotate between the team, sharing some different state updates. So the first for the national updates, if you haven't ever gone, the National PBIS Leadership Forum is in Chicago every year. This forum is about exemplars for exemplars. So really what that means is we have our exemplars from schools who will be presenting their different things that they're doing across the tiers, across tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. We have a whole session on student voice in there. It's a really good time to go. It's by an invitation for presenting only, but then everybody can register for it. Registration is open. It is quickly approaching. And I know the hotel, I believe, is sold out, but they do have some options for overflow. If you've never been, it's a great event. Then we have some new resources that have come out of the Center of Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. Dr. Heather George is one of the co-directors of it. So each one of these resources that we're going to go through are on pbis.org. And if you actually click on it, which I don't want to do because I don't want to get out of the PowerPoint, but it will take you directly to the resource on the website. So I'm going to quickly go through each one of those. This first one, PBIS in a secure juvenile justice setting. We know that some districts do provide education in juvenile justice settings. And so if you are one of those districts that does provide that educational component, and you want to think about how you can implement PBIS there, this first one on the left would be for you. The second one is called Feasibility of PBIS in a Therapeutic Group Home. So you may be thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't really apply to us because we are a school. So I'm going to give you a different perspective and lens. When I was still a classroom teacher, I taught a self-contained classroom for students with disabilities. And 2 of the schools I taught in, we actually had a therapeutic group home where the kids lived and then came to school at our school. Each one of those had an educational liaison. So that was the person that attended parent meetings, IEP meetings, registered. They were our communication person. And so if we were doing PBIS, we talk about what does PBIS look at home and trying to get some parent and community involvement that way. And this is what that resource could be used for. So if you do have a therapeutic group home where students come to your school and you have an educational component, this would be that resource that you could communicate and share with them and talk about how they can translate your expectations and rules at school and how they could mirror expectations and rules in the therapeutic group home if they were interested. A couple other ones on there. Here is a little brief about how to intensify classroom PBIS practices to support students with disabilities in the classroom. We know that all classrooms have students with disabilities in them, and so this will give you some ideas of what that could look like that the classroom teachers could do to include students with disabilities in their classroom using PBIS practices. This next one over here is improving tier 3 implementation. So how one school that's a high needs school implemented a good tier 3 system. It was a research study, so it gives you a lot of that information about it and what they did to implement tier 3 supports in their specific school. So just like the other 2 resources, you can see if I'm hovering over it, you can see it gives you the link and it can take you directly to those. A couple other resources that are out there. This one I was really excited about. It's about extending school-wide supports and extracurricular activities. We know secondary schools, so middle and high schools, have a lot of extracurricular activities. So whether it's sports, club, band, drama, but then how can you extend those PBIS practices into those extracurricular activities? I've seen some great jobs of schools at elementary schools who have those after or before care programs, how they extend PBIS into those systems. So this kind of builds on that. So how to do that in extracurricular activities. Again, click on it. It will take you directly to the resource. And that's a brand new one that came out in September. There's a couple other things, resources and tools out there. There is the self-assessment SAS. That is another evaluation tool that the Center for PBIS promotes. It's not something that we have used in Florida, and it's not something that we collect data in our PBSES system, but it's another great resource and tool out there that a school can use to see how they are doing with their PBIS implementation. It could be used as progress monitoring before doing the PIC or the BOQ. There's the link and the PBIS implementation blueprint, which we're going to go in a little bit more in depth, not too much, but a little bit more in depth about that. If you've been around for a little bit, you know that PBIS has a implementation blueprint. It's been around for years and it's been revised a couple different times. So on the next screen, oh, the second to next screen, it will give you that visual. The blueprint does talk about the outcomes that schools can see if implementing PBIS with fidelity. And so we know that there's improved student outcomes, there's reduced exclusionary discipline, and improved teacher outcomes. And there's some more information about these outcomes in that blueprint. For those of you who were on our new district coordinator meeting this morning, one of the questions was asked about getting administrator buy-in around PBIS, and this could be a great visual for that. They want to see improved student outcomes. They want to reduce discipline and removal of out-of-school suspensions and restraints and inclusions, and they do want to see better outcomes for their teachers. So that might be a good selling point. So within the blueprint, it goes through the 4-step problem solving process. This should look familiar to those of you who've been around for a little bit. It's the 4 steps that we here use in Florida. Step 1, defining the goals. Step 2, analyzing the why, developing a plan, and then evaluating. So it goes through that in the blueprint. You can see on pages 20 and 21. And this is that visual that I was mentioning. So if you've been around for a while, you've seen this visual and it's changed a little bit. What this visual means is this is what is needed for leadership teams for successful implementation of PBIS and the different systems that the leadership team puts in place. And so it's not just at the district level, but it's also at the school level. It's the same model of what needs to be put in place. So there's 2 areas highlighted here. One is leadership teaming, and we'll do a little bit more about that. But then I wanted to point out the partner engagement piece at the very top. Our training was revised a couple of years ago to really emphasize stakeholder voice and stakeholder involvement. And that's where that partner engagement comes in. So getting the feedback and input from our staff, our families, and our students before with drafts of things before we put something in place. And that's where that kind of falls in. So over time, this graphic has changed a little bit about what the features are that are needed at a school and systems level for implementation of PBIS. So leadership team, as it said here, is regardless, it's very important, regardless if we're talking about at the district level or at the school level. So the way the PBIS implementation blueprint is laid out now, they've got 3 big buckets. 1 is getting ready, 2 is getting started, and 3 is getting better. And I really like this language because getting ready is we haven't quite started yet, but we need to do that planning piece. Getting started is we're getting those things in place, and getting better is how we sustain and build things over time. So where are you in this process? And so if you're getting ready, we're going to kind of show you that one. This is what that looks like. It's a very nice layout. So there's 3 columns here. This is the getting ready one that we said highlighted. So our new district coordinators, you might want to look at this because maybe your district is just at the getting ready stage, or maybe you're just at the getting ready stage. And then here's the different features of that infographic. And here's what that means to get ready. And then it digs a little bit deeper. Some of you may be in districts where you're past getting ready and you might want to look at getting started, because you're at the very beginning stages. And then there's a lot of you who have a lot of schools trained, you've already gotten started, you've already gotten ready, you've been around for a long time, and you just want to get a little bit better. So some of the new resources and features were just highlighted that are in the blueprint that you might want to look at. If you've never been to pbis.org, I'm going to point out a couple things on this slide. If you go up to topics and you click on it, there is this nice drop down menu, and you can go here and select different topics. High school PBIS, I know we talked a little bit and had one of the districts share about getting high school started in their district. So there's a little bit there. The juvenile justice stuff, that's where you would go and find that information about the infographic there earlier. So there's lots of different things here. We talked about data a lot in the new DC meeting. Here's a whole section on data. My favorite feature is their search feature is really good. So I always put little things in there and it pulls up what I'm looking for, whether it's a practice brief or a PowerPoint presentation or a video. On the home page too, it's kind of hard to see, but these green on the screen are things that are always their new products. They always start on the homepage. So all of those new products that I just showed you will be on the homepage, and you can kind of scroll them before they find their home and they put new products. They're always putting new products out. Great resource for you. So with that, we're going to go for the rest of our session today. We're going to do a lot of state updates. Our state updates cover evaluation, model schools. We have some new resources that we want to share. We're going to talk about the statewide Tier 1 Canvas course. So if you have any schools that are in need of Tier 1 training, that will be starting this month. Our TA chats for this year and what that schedule looks like, freshman success, which is a new opportunity that we're looking for recruitment, and our DC meeting schedule for the rest of the year. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, who's going to start actually with model schools.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. You can go to the next slide. So I'm going to just start with a quick update on model schools, including some updates from last year and our plans for this upcoming year. So we did extend the 22-23 Model School Award application through September 8th, so it just ended. And during this period, we had 427 schools coming from 33 districts who applied to become a Florida PBIS model school. This is our second year where we're recognizing schools at the advanced tiers, and it's our first year in which we're going to be applying some new scoring criteria for those gold and those platinum applications. So those are applications recognizing schools at tiers 2 and 3. And we're currently in the process of reviewing and finalizing award levels. So notification for all schools' final status and their award will be sent out to the primary district coordinator as well as the school contact from the application. By mid-October is my current timeline. And with that, that email will include the model school's certificate and the ribbon. And you will also be able to access the final model school information on our website, the PBSES evaluation website, once those notifications are sent out. We're also in the process of creating banners and stickers for our model schools. And we're going to be providing new banners this year to schools who have not received a model school award in the last 2 years. So all schools received a new banner 2 years ago and last year as well, if they didn't receive one before that. And all other model schools are going to receive a sticker, which will be mailed to the district coordinator with their award level for 22-23, where they can add their existing banner. So if you have any model schools, we'll be reaching out to you soon to confirm your shipping information for those materials. Right, so next slide has some of our plans for next year. We're going to be using our lessons learned from this past school year from those submitted gold and platinum applications before we finalize our criteria for this year. So our final list of prerequisites, criteria, and application information for the 23-24 school year will be announced prior to the Model Schools TA chat, which will take place on October 18th. And here's a link as well as a QR code where you can register for that TA chat. And I can also post it in the chat box in a minute. All right, so we have a few evaluation updates. You can go to the next slide. So first is the pre-year activities. A couple weeks ago, you should have received an email from your TA contact with a link to your district's evaluation Google Drive to complete any of our pre-year evaluation activities. Those Google Drive folders all contain the current list of district coordinators and schools for your district, as well as a Google spreadsheet where you can verify district coordinator contact information who are active with your district. So if you have not already accessed those Google Drive sheets, please go in there and just take a look at the list of district coordinators in your district. You can make sure contact information is correct. You can also indicate if you have any new district coordinators or inactive coordinators on your team. Some districts also have a Google spreadsheet in their folder where we're asking that they verify or provide revised outcome data for schools that we've identified with potential data errors. So that was usually if we just saw rates were very different from previous years, or if there's an obvious error in their disaggregated data, then we identified those schools' data for you to take a look at and update. We asked that you complete these activities by tomorrow is actually the due date. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to your TA. And they can resend the Google Drive link or provide any other information to help you complete those activities. Okay, so the next slide has the deadlines for PBSES, our evaluation schedule this year. It's very similar to previous years. It can also be found on our website. The only actual difference in this schedule is there's a little bit more of a delay between end year and the model school applications opening up. I think that was just where the June 15th landed on the calendar. There's also a little bit of an earlier deadline for outcome data for those districts who choose to submit outcome data via a district-wide spreadsheet. So only a few districts use district spreadsheets, but we did just move it forward just by a couple days to give us time on our side to be able to review those and enter them in the system, because those data are used in calculating some of our model school criteria.
And Nicole, could you explain what the district-wide spreadsheet is? We have some new district coordinators who may not be
Absolutely.
familiar with that.
Yeah, so schools can go into PBSES and individually submit their end of year outcome data to our project. But some districts, they have, their data system available where they can pool those outcome data for all of the schools in their district. And the district coordinator prefers to submit those data to us. So around in May or a little bit before that, we will ask if any districts would like to submit data via a spreadsheet, and they can let their TA contact know. And then we will prepare a spreadsheet for you that has that you would just insert all of the data for all of the schools, and then we would upload that. So it kind of takes one thing off the school's plate. And it also helps maybe to ensure that the data is more accurate, that it's coming from a consistent place in your district. Okay, so you will be receiving, this is just the same evaluation schedule, the same items that was displayed on the previous slide. Then the first thing that's going to be coming up after our pre-year is our mid-year one, which opens on October 15th, and that will include the PBIS implementation checklist. So you should be receiving an email from your TA sometime late September, early October with instructions for completing the PIC. Mid-year 2 will open on February 1st. That includes the spring pick, which is optional for our project, but some districts might require it for their schools, as well as the ability to enter the Tier 1 walkthrough. And there's going to be a school inactivity report that we're going to ask you to complete. If you have any schools who haven't been submitting data for a couple years, they'll be identified for you to provide a status update if they're inactive or if they're still actively implementing. And then our end year evaluation cycle is going to open on April 1st, and it's due in mid-June. During this period, you can continue with your walkthroughs as well as submit the benchmarks of quality for Tier 1 and the tiered fidelity inventory for Tiers 2 and 3. And then finally, the outcome data can be submitted, and outcome data are submitted after the last student day of school. And then I see, Kat provided a reminder that prior to each evaluation cycle, you will receive an email with more specific information and instructions on how to, what's actually required during each of those evaluation cycles and how to disseminate that information to your schools. So our final evaluation update I wanted to share is a sneak peek of a new evaluation resource that's going to be available soon to all districts within the district level data reports on PBSES. So last year, we actually met with a few DCs to get some input on the current reports, and we used that input to redesign the disaggregated outcomes report page in our database. So the new report's going to make it a little easier for DCs to identify proportion of their schools who are reporting disproportionality in their outcome data. And they'll also, I hope, be able to more quickly identify schools who have disproportionality and look at some discipline trends for those schools over time. And we have some new data visualizations that are going to be available that you can use in your district planning meetings and problem solving. So that's all going to be in this new report. And the next slide actually has a little bit of a sneak peek of what the report will look like. So you can see the old report, we typically historically provided kind of average risk ratios at the district or average levels of risk at the district. So in the new report on the right, you can see the types of information that you'll have access to in the new reports. You'll be able to look at, again, risk ratios for specific schools. You can filter by student subgroup, by discipline type. So I think that's going to be a really nice report that's available. So we're currently finalizing it, and we will let you know when it's available and provide some resources that will help you use those new pieces of data. All right, the next slide, this is me as well. I wanted to take a few minutes to review with everyone the results of our district coordinator satisfaction survey. So on the next slide, it shows what we did back in May. Actually, in one of these district coordinator meetings, we kind of completed a survey together, collecting feedback on the TA supports that you received from the project last year. And then we followed this up with an email to all of the district coordinators who did not attend that meeting so that they could provide some input. So I pulled both of those sources together, and overall we received feedback from 27 of our DCs, which does represent only about half of the districts that are active with our project. So last year was that first year trying to collect those data directly from you all during our DC meeting, and that did really help to boost our response rates from the previous year. But always we're looking to further expand representation from our DCs and providing that feedback. You're going to see in a minute, we do use your feedback here, especially in these district coordinator meetings, to help us plan topic areas and some of the resources that we provide. So I'm going to go over the responses in a minute, but if you do have any ideas, anything you'd like to share in the chat box for things that we might try next year to boost response rates from district coordinators. So go ahead and share those if you have them, and I'll move forward to the next slide, looking a little bit closer at the actual data that you provided to us. So on the next slide, Stephanie, as part of the survey, we asked district coordinators which resources from Florida PBIS that you were using, and if you used those resources, to rate those that you have accessed. So we found that most DCs who do access resources do report them to be at least moderately valuable, but there are a number of resources that are not being accessed as widely, including our skill development modules online and our social media accounts. So our skill development modules, those are on the online learning page of our website. We have some topical Canvas modules that go more in depth on some of our topics that we review in training for those maybe who want to go to the next level in implementing PBIS. Our newsletters and our social media were the two resources rated the lowest. And we're actively right now in the process of incorporating some new ideas to try to make those more useful for our district coordinators and schools. In addition, the next slide. So in addition to specific resources, we did also ask you about topic areas that you've received support from in our project. So again, all topical areas were identified at least somewhat valuable, which is amazing, but not surprisingly, Tier 1 was accessed most frequently and also rated the highest, as well as Tier 3 was rated pretty high. Mental health integration and disproportionality supports were rated the lowest from those who accessed those reports. And I see one idea is to offer an incentive or like a drawing or something for district coordinator surveys next year. And I think we've definitely discussed that, and I'm going to look into what we can do to try to boost those rates. So thank you, Portia. All right, the next slide shows a little bit about district coordinator characteristics who completed that survey. We had a lot of new DCs, you can see, who joined the team within the last year. So over 1/4 of the folks who responded reported being new to their role. And also on the bottom, you can see we found a big difference across our DCs regarding the amount of time that's allocated to them to complete PBIS coordination activities. So over 40% of DCs reported having either full-time or close to full-time FTE for PBIS coordination, but a large segment, over 26%, reported having no or little FTE specific to their PBIS coordination activities. So we're definitely going to take that information back and tailor some of our resources and supports to address these discrepancies. However, if you click again, Stephanie, you'll have a little pop-up. Those district coordinators who are on the line and do have a large portion of your FTE allocated for this work, I really encourage you to share out maybe which department or funding source that has provided that opportunity. So perhaps maybe others on the line could get some ideas about funding sources that they might look into to support some of this work. So feel free to share that in the chat box. I'm going to move forward because we do have a lot, as Stephanie showed the agenda, we have a lot of content today. So DC's also reported to us that they spend the greatest amount of their time around PBIS coordination in supporting training and professional development. So that's not surprising that that's where a great deal of time is being spent by district coordinators. DC's also spend a lot of their time in supporting data collection and evaluation of schools and using data. Less time's being spent in funding maybe, or increasing visibility or political support. So this kind of gives you a breakdown of where your fellow district coordinators might be sharing, might be contributing a lot of your time throughout the year. And finally, we asked some information about what topics you're most interested in meeting and collaborating with other DCs around this year. So this past survey, Tier 2 implementation was selected most frequently by the district coordinators as a topic that they would like to further collaborate on with their fellow DCs across the state. So we're going to be organizing some future DC meetings that are focused on building Tier 2 supports within your district. But we actually have a poll question, and I think I can pull it up. Yep. So I'm going to launch this poll here to get we want to get a little bit more information from you about exactly the types of topics related to Tier 2 that you'd like to collaborate with others around. So for example, is it just, do you want to learn from your other DCs about how they've incorporated Tier 2 on their leadership team? Do you want help aligning your MTSS systems and policies are for Tier 2? Do you want to discuss ways to further engage schools in their Tier 2 systems training and coaching, maybe with our project or with other supports that you offer? Would you like help in determining evaluation strategies, data collection for Tier 2? Were you most interested in increasing your own personal expertise around Tier 2 content and training? So we're asking in this poll, maybe select your top 2 focus areas, and we're going to use this information to plan perhaps a future DC meeting. So I will give you a couple minutes to respond to that poll question.
I see a lot of people are voting. Thank you so much. It really does help us when we plan those topical DC meetings to know what you want to focus in on.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the voting has slowed down. Nicole, you want to give a couple more seconds?
Yes, I'll give 5 more seconds. If you're still making a decision. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. I can share results out right now. Most DCs selected aligning your MTSS and policies with in supporting Tier 2, followed by engaging schools in Tier 2 systems training. So thanks so much for providing that input. That's really helpful.
Before we go on to the next content, just wanted to pause. I'll do my teacher pause and see if anybody has any questions around model schools, evaluation for PBSES, and also any of the results from the DC survey. So feel free to type in the chat box or unmute yourself if you do have any questions around those 3 topics. I don't see anyone typing in the chat box, but I'll give about 5 more seconds. Okay, thank you, Nicole, for sharing about model schools, PBSES, and the DC survey results from last year. Thank you for everyone for participating in the poll. That will be helpful for planning our next meetings, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So we're going to transition into some new resources that the PBIS project has developed that are accessible. So the first one is we have what we call the classroom workbook for 5 essential PBIS practices. To give you a little context and background, this was developed based upon requests from more than one district of resources and tools for brand new teachers in the classroom, not just brand new in the classroom, but teachers that maybe are out of field, first year teachers coming from maybe other countries, but also a resource that could be used when the teacher comes at any time of the year. We know school started somewhere around August 10th in most of our districts, but we know that we are still getting new teachers here in September. We'll get new ones in October. We'll get new ones in December. We'll get new ones in January, February. And so they wanted a resource that could be picked up and could be used by a teacher at the beginning of the year or at any point in the school year. So we took our 5 essential tip sheets. We also have a Canvas learning module that goes along with it to develop this classroom workbook. And it might be a little bit hard to see, but the top left-hand corner or top left side is the cover of what that workbook looks like. In the middle is the table of contents. And what you'll notice is that the way it's laid out is that we have getting started. It's the first 10 days after your start date. And that was purposefully done so that whenever that first 10 days of that person's start date, these are the things that they should work on. Then 30 days after your start date, 45 days, and then 60 days, and then beyond your 60-day start to help get started. And then there's some resources in the appendix. Then on the right-hand side of the screen, where it says activities, as you can see, it's written out as more like a little checklist. So do this first, and then they can click on the different resources and tools and put the date that they completed that. Underneath the activity, there are links to different resources that are mentioned in the activities section. We've had a couple of districts say that they have used this during new teacher orientation. We've had some say we're going to have all teachers go through it. There's lots of different ways that this can be used. If you do use the classroom workbook in some manner, let us know how you're using it, or if you're interested in it and want some different suggestions, we can share with you what some other districts are doing with that workbook. So that's one of our newer resources that got published over the summer. Our goal was to have it ready for the start of the school year, and we met that goal. The next thing that we put together is in our new DC orientation, which we reviewed a little bit earlier, and a lot of you have probably gone through it. We added a new section for this year. We had lots of requests, and we always get lots of requests from districts. Do you have a sample of, and then they give us an example. So one might be, do you have an example of a PBIS newsletter? Do you have a sample of a brochure? Do you have a sample of talking points that we could use at like a school board meeting or any sort of meeting that we have to present about PBIS? So we collected those samples of resources across districts. We had a team that reviewed them, and then we uploaded the samples in here. They were also reviewed and approved by Florida DOE. So new samples and resources in that section. So if you haven't looked at it for a while, there's new things in there that might kind of spark your interest. You go, oh, that's a really great idea. I could do that in my district. And it just needs a little bit of tweaking. There is the QR code at the top for registration for that Canvas course if you've never registered for it before. So that's a new resource. And then coming soon, we have had in the past what we called a Tier 1 Revisited. So Tier 1 Revisited is essentially a brief overview of the 10 critical elements of Tier 1. It's broken down into the 6 different modules as our training is now. We had one in the past, but for those of you who are aware, we made some major revisions of it this year. So we revisited the course. The course is meant, so if you have new team members, so we have a 1 hour video, but if you've got some team members who want a little bit more information about Tier 1, this would be a great learning module for them. You have a new administrator. We know during summer is a very popular time in school districts for administrators to change schools. So if you have a new administrator, or are you a new district coordinator and you haven't had the opportunity to attend a Tier 1 training? So we're in the process of revising it. It's not currently available, but hopefully in the next month or so that will be available. And that PBIS DC newsletter that we send out each month will definitely let you know when this is up and running. It will be another resource that you could use, your teams could use, and brand new administrators can use to get some more background information. Now, it doesn't replace the Tier 1 training, but it does help new people to get a better and clearer understanding of the 10 critical elements of Tier 1 implementation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and Jason is going to talk about our statewide Tier 1 Canvas course.
Good morning. I'm Jason Lobley. I just wanted to let you guys know that we will be again offering a statewide Tier 1 Canvas training. So if you guys have schools in your district that weren't able to make training this past summer or need training this fall, and may need some flexibility where they can't pull people out of schools for a number of days, this might be a good opportunity for some schools in your district. The Canvas course is broken down into 6 modules, and we'll have resources and activities built into each of those modules that the schools will complete. We are going to start the course on October 5th, and it will end on November 30th. And then within that time frame, we're going to have so the team orientation to Canvas and Zoom and everything, that's going to take place on October 5th. And then we'll do 3 check-ins. They're going to land about every 2 weeks. So the teams will get about 2 weeks to work on their activities between the sessions. So the first check-in will be October 19th. The second one will be November 2nd. And the third check-in will be November 15th. And then that last time the group gets together will be on November 30th. And that's when each team will provide a presentation about what their PBIS Tier 1 plan is going to look like. So if you guys have schools in your districts that might be interested in this format of training, please get in touch with your TA contact. And we'd like to have the standard school readiness checklist paperwork due to us by September 29th. So if you're interested, please get in touch with your TA specialist, and we can get started on that course.
Thanks, Jason. This is a great opportunity if you have a school that doesn't want to wait until the next time that you offer training, or if you are a district that where majority of your schools have been trained, and you don't have enough schools to do your own individual, or if you do have some charter schools in the district that are interested. It's a great opportunity. So thank you for sharing that. Again, reach out to your TA person if you have a school that's interested, and just pay careful attention to the dates on here and the deadlines. With that, we are starting our series of technical assistance chats for the 23-24 school year. And Betsy, do you want to talk about those?
Sure. Hi, everybody. So you'll see here that we have our entire list of chats for the school year. We try to do one about once a month. And our first one is coming up on September 27th. I will put a direct link to sign up for that chat in the chat for this meeting if you would like to sign up. So that's going to be, we changed our hours because we did get feedback from DCs last year that earlier in the day might be a better time for some. And if it's not a better time for you, that's okay too. We do record those and they are on our YouTube channel. So if you would like to visit our YouTube channel, you can see all of our TA chats from previous years, as well as the ones that come up this year. So that first one is September 27th. And then the one right after that, Nicole already mentioned, that is where you'll get those model school updates. And that is on October 18th. So I will put a link in the chat for the next TA chat you can sign up for. And I hope that you guys can join us. Feel free to share that link with anyone that you think might be interested. It's open to teachers, administrators, really anyone that's interested in the topic, and they are free. So thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. It's a great opportunity to have the opportunity to chat and get some information about these topics. You'll see we do have some schools presenting this year, so some school level stuff about high schools. We're going to move into freshman success now. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we're in the process of recruitment. Lauren, do you want to talk about it?
I'd be happy to. So Stephanie and I are really excited about this new opportunity. We have partnered with the University of Oregon to run a research grant called Freshman Success. And what we're doing right now is we are in the recruitment process for the next 4 years. This is a 5-year grant of implementation. And what we're basically doing is inserting or providing a preset set of lessons for freshmen on how to do school. So if you are or have interested high schools in graduation and focusing for freshmen as an area of need, it's a model designed to help improve their transition and engagement for freshmen across all high schools. So we would love to give you more information and opportunities to be a part of this randomized control trial. In total, we are looking for 40 schools across the state. So if you have 2 high schools that at least we're looking for those pairs, so 2 or more high schools in your district who might be interested, please reach out to Stephanie and I, and we would be happy to give you more information and kind of talk a little bit more about the logistics here as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. And I know it says currently recruiting for the 23-24 school year, but we're actually now recruiting for the 24-25 school year and beyond. So if graduation, staying on track, course credit is an area of need or focus for your 9th grade and high schools, please let us know. As a parent, I think I bought into the grant idea, seeing my child struggling in 7th grade and some of the skills that he needs as a middle schooler, and really got some really good ideas of what to do for him, because it's some of the same skills that he will need when he is in 9th grade. So just reach out. We're very excited about it. If you've got more questions or want more information. With that, we just have a couple more slides. The DC meeting schedule for the year. So as you know, this is the one that we're having today. We had one for new district coordinators this morning, and then this one is the one what we share national and state updates. The next one is on Thursday, November 9th. They always start our schedule ones at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we know we've got the Panhandle is in Central Time, so that'll be 9 a.m. for them. The next one is Thursday, November 9th, and that is a topic-based one. So if you've never joined the topic-based ones, we pick a topic based on the results that we got from the DC survey. And that's what Nicole was asking about today, some more information about Tier 2. And we don't share a lot. It's more about discussion, and we break you into breakout rooms, and you have the opportunity to either discuss based on a certain area that interests you, or maybe by size alike. And that's what those topic-based ones are. So if at any point throughout this next school year, if there is a topic that you would like to see included in one of those topic-based meetings, let your technical assistance person know, because we're always gathering that information for those. The other meetings, January 18th and May 9th, those are what we call our national and state update meetings. So those are the ones where we share, like today, a lot of information with you. We'll always share new resources, whether it's national resources or state resources. We'll give you updates, anything around evaluation, model schools, anything that's new is going on in our project. The link below is for the Zoom registration. You had to use it to get here today. There's the QR code there. You don't necessarily need it again, but if you do have like a co-district coordinator or at some point, maybe you take a different position and you have a new DC that comes on board, share that information with them. It's just one registration. It's the same link for the year. We will send out a reminder before the one in November 9th. So just a reminder about that. We kept these at all Thursdays this year to make that a little bit easier as well. So that's our DC meeting schedule for the year. Just a couple things we're going to share, and then we'll have a few minutes if we've got questions or comments that people want to talk about before we end today. So Betsy already shared the list of the TA chats for this year, but if you want to go back and find past year TA chats, they are recorded and posted here. This is our home page. Scroll to the very bottom of the page and you'll see where it says PBIS chat schedule, and this is the one from last year, and you can find last year's recordings there. There will be a new one that says school year 2023 to 2024, and that's where you can find the ones for this school year if for some reason there's one you want to watch that's been recorded that you missed live. We do have a certificate program for MTSS and PBIS that if you're interested, the information is here. It's 12 credit hours. It's fully online. There's a little bit more information there about that graduate certificate course. There, within a department, there's a Master of Science in Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health. Again, if you're interested in that, here's the information. Another one, Masters in Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health, more information about the courses. And then again, our contact information, our Facebook page, our X or Twitter, and our YouTube page. So with that, we're actually done a few minutes early. Our staff will stick around, but if you've got questions, feel free to put them in the chat box or raise your hand or unmute and just let us know. Oh, Jennifer, that's great feedback. She said she highly recommends both the master's and grad certificate. She graduated with both in May. Woohoo, that's awesome. I always like that positive feedback. Thank you, Julie.